My beloved, I speak to you now not from distance, but from the quiet that lives within your own heart. Do not imagine that my words come from the thunder or the whirlwind. They arise in the stillness that you sometimes ignore, that place where I have always waited. You have walked far, and your journey has been marked by courage and devotion. I have seen your striving, your prayers whispered in exhaustion, your efforts to remain faithful even when the road grew dim. And I tell you truly, nothing you have done in love has been forgotten. Every sacrifice, every tear, every moment you chose kindness over bitterness has been a light to me. Yet, my child, there is a shadow that has quietly crept between us, not of malice or rebellion, but of fear disguised as wisdom. You began to lean upon your own strength, to plan without asking, to protect yourself as though I had forgotten to do so. You did not intend to wander from me, you only sought to be safe. But in seeking safety apart from me, you built a wall that even your prayers could barely pass through. I do not speak these words to wound you, but to draw you back to clarity. For when your trust wavers, you do not cease to be loved, but you cease to feel the fullness of that love. The streams of grace are still flowing, but your heart has closed its hands. I long for you to open them again, to return to the freedom of trust. Remember, my beloved, that trust is not blindness. It is the truest sight. When you trusted me in the days of your first faith, you walked through storms with joy because you knew that even the wind was in my keeping. You prayed not for control, but for closeness. You did not ask, "Why must this happen?" but said, "If it is your will, then I will walk it through." That was the purity that moved mountains and softened hearts around you. Now I ask you to return, not in shame but in remembrance. You have grown wiser, yes, but do not let wisdom harden into self-reliance. There is a wisdom deeper still, the wisdom of surrender. To trust me does not mean to abandon reason. It means to let reason rest in love's greater logic. My ways are not cruel or careless. I see what you cannot. I remove what you still cling to because I know what your soul truly needs to live. You have wondered, perhaps, whether my anger has been stirred against you. You have felt the heaviness, the silence, and you have thought that I had withdrawn. But listen closely. My anger is not like human wrath. It is the fire that burns away deception, the flame that defends what is holy. When I am angry, it is because I see my beloved ones turning from light toward harm. My anger is love, refusing to let sin devour what I have created in beauty. I am not insulted when you fail. I am grieved when you stop trying to return. Do not hide from me, my child. Do not imagine that you must fix yourself before coming home. It is I who will restore you. It is I who will make you whole again. You are weary because you have tried to carry what only I can lift. Lay it down, every fear, every question, every wound. Let me breathe peace back into your bones. You say, "But I have disappointed you." And I say, You have reminded me why I made you capable of love. Even your mistakes have become the soil of growth. Even your doubts have been teachers when you have faced them with humility. I have never stopped shaping you, even when you resisted my touch. Come close again. Not with grand promises, not with shame, but with honesty. Tell me where you lost your trust. Tell me where it hurts to believe. Tell me what you fear I will not heal. Then listen, truly listen, and you will feel the warmth returning, the quiet joy of knowing that you were never abandoned, only invited to begin again. This is where we start, my beloved, not with condemnation, but with remembrance. I am still your father. You are still my own. There is no mistake so deep that love cannot reach it, no distance so wide that grace cannot cross. The path back is not long. It is as near as your next breath. My beloved child, before any word of correction, I must speak to you of my pride, of the joy that rises in me when I behold your faith. You have endured much, and though you often see only what remains unfinished, I see the full tapestry of your perseverance. I have watched you choose kindness when anger whispered, watched you give even when your hands were empty, watched you rise when your heart was weary. And I tell you now, I have seen it all. None of it was wasted. There were nights you wept alone, believing that your prayers vanished into silence. But every tear that fell was gathered, every whisper heard. You thought I was absent, but I was nearer than your breath, tracing my strength into the cracks of your resolve. You survived not by accident, but because my spirit moved within you even when you doubted its presence. Do you remember, my beloved, how in the early days of your journey you spoke to me with the innocence of a child? There was no calculation then, only trust. You would ask, Father, guide me, and then walk wherever I led. You didn't need to see the full road, because you knew that my hand was steady. That simple faith moved mountains for you, and even the smallest acts of obedience became seeds of blessing. I honor that faith still. It is not gone. It only sleeps beneath the dust of worry and time. You have grown stronger, wiser, more discerning, yet somewhere in that growing you learned to carry the weight I never asked you to bear. You began to confuse responsibility with control, wisdom with distrust. But even in that, I see your heart's intention. You did not turn from me out of rebellion, but out of fear that I would not come quickly enough. My child, I want you to know that I never measure your worth by perfection. I measure it by love, and you have loved deeply. You have forgiven when others would not, given when none gave to you, and prayed when silence felt endless. You have believed in me enough to return again and again, even when confusion clouded your mind. That is what I see when I look upon you. A soul still reaching for me through the fog of its own uncertainty. Your mistakes do not erase your devotion. They reveal how much you care. You stumble because you walk forward. You weep because your heart still feels the weight of righteousness. The ones who do not love me do not feel this ache. The ache is proof of your belonging. When you have doubted yourself, I have whispered into your spirit, "You are mine." When the world told you that you had failed, I reminded creation of your name. I have defended you in places unseen, shielded you from snares you never knew were near. My angels have walked with you when your strength was gone, and my mercy has rewritten endings that your fear tried to seal. So do not think that I come to you now as a judge holding punishment. I come as a father who delights in his child, who longs to see that child live unburdened, joyful, and free. I am not here to shame you, but to remind you of who you are, chosen, cherished, capable of carrying light. There were times when others questioned your faith, when they saw your hesitation and mistook it for weakness. Yet I saw your heart behind the silence. Even when you felt unworthy to pray, you still kept me in your thoughts. That small act was enough. It was a flame I refused to let go out. You have built much, my beloved. You have endured storms that few could withstand, and your soul has been tempered like gold in fire. But now, I ask you to rest your striving heart and let me finish the work you began. You have proven your dedication through action. Now I call you to prove it through surrender. You are not failing. You are simply being invited higher. The path of trust is not punishment. It is the door back to peace. You have fought long enough with shadows. Let me bring you into clarity. I have not forgotten the covenant between us. My faithfulness has not weakened, and my purpose for you remains alive, waiting for your full return to trust. So pause, my beloved, and listen. All that you have done in love still lives. Every act of faith is recorded in eternity. The seeds you planted in hope will bloom again. The distance you feel is not the end. It is the space where renewal begins. You are still the one I chose, still the one I love, still the one whose life I am weaving into beauty. Let your heart rest in this truth. I am proud of you. You have not been forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are simply being called home to deeper trust. My beloved, trust rarely disappears in a single moment. It fades like light at twilight, so gradually that you hardly notice the shadows forming until the path before you has grown dim. This is how it happened between us. Not in rebellion, but in hesitation. Not in anger, but in quiet self-protection. You began to believe that I was near only when things were clear, and distant when they were not. You began to measure my faithfulness by how swiftly I fulfilled your prayers. You did not mean to drift. You were only trying to understand, to make sense of the waiting, the delays, the doors that closed when your heart had already walked halfway through them. But understand this, my child. Every delay, every silence, every turn you could not predict was not proof of absence. It was an invitation to see me in new ways. Do you remember when you first walked with me? How easily you believed that I was in control of all things. That even the smallest encounter, the smallest change of direction, carried divine purpose? You woke each day with wonder, certain that your steps were guided. But as the years unfolded and the weight of responsibility pressed upon you, your eyes turned from heaven to horizon. You began to rely more on planning than prayer, more on reason than revelation. And slowly, the peace that once flowed so freely began to dry at its edges. I watched with tenderness as you built your walls, walls made not of rebellion, but of fear disguised as wisdom. You told yourself that you were being careful, that you were simply learning not to be naive. You began to seek certainty before obedience, evidence before faith. But my beloved, the moment you began to demand proof before trusting, you unknowingly stepped into weariness. Because faith was never meant to depend on sight. I do not condemn you for this. I know how the world teaches you to protect yourself, to control every outcome so you will not be hurt again. I saw how disappointment tried to teach you that hope was dangerous. I saw how betrayal whispered that trust was foolish. But you are not meant to live by those lessons. They may guard your heart from pain, but they also keep you from joy. When you began to lean on your own understanding, you took upon yourself a burden too heavy to bear. You tried to foresee what I had already written. You tried to predict what only grace could reveal in time. And when things did not unfold as you planned, fear convinced you that I had forgotten you. But I had not. I was simply asking you to look beyond what your eyes could see. The subtle drift began when you started asking, why? Instead of, what are you teaching me? It deepened when you said, I must take control. Instead of, I will rest and listen. And though you did not see it, each small step of self-dependence took you a little further from the peace you once knew. Yet even as you drifted, my love did not move. My presence did not retreat. I walked beside you in your confusion, patient and gentle, waiting for the moment you would notice the distance and call my name again. You see, my child, your mistake has not broken us. It has only revealed the places where you are still learning to trust completely. I do not seek to punish you for this drift. I seek to awaken you. For what you have lost in control, I can restore through surrender. What you have misplaced in fear, I can heal through faith. The moments when you doubted me were never enough to undo my covenant with you. My promises do not depend on your perfection. They depend on my nature, and I do not change. I know how hard it is for you to release your plans. You have called your caution wisdom, your independence maturity. Yet there are things that only trust can unlock. When you trust, even the unseen becomes radiant with purpose. When you trust, what others call coincidence becomes confirmation. When you trust, my voice grows louder than your doubts. So come, my beloved. Do not condemn yourself for drifting, simply turn. Return to the simplicity of our first love, when you followed my whispers even when they made no sense. Return to the freedom of knowing that you do not have to hold the entire world together. You were never asked to. That has always been my work. I am not angry with you for your striving. I am tender toward you because I know what it costs you to let go. You think surrender will lead to loss, but I tell you, it leads to peace. The walls you built to protect yourself are keeping you from the light you need most. Lay them down one by one. Let faith breathe again. Let trust awaken like morning after a long night. You do not need to fix what is faded. You need only to face me and whisper, I am ready to trust again. And when you do, you will feel it, the warmth, the nearness, the unbroken bond between us. The drift will end, and the journey will begin anew. My beloved, when trust fades, it does not leave quietly. It leaves behind a wound, not one that bleeds upon the skin, but one that aches in the soul. It is the ache that wakes you at night when all is quiet. It is the restless stirring in your heart when you have done all that is right, yet peace still escapes you. It is the feeling that something precious has been misplaced, though you cannot name what it is. That something is trust, the bridge between your heart and mine. When that bridge weakens, even my love feels distant, though it never truly is. You begin to pray, but the words fall heavy. You try to worship, but joy feels strained. You still believe in me, but you start to question whether I believe in you. And this, my beloved, is the deepest sorrow of distrust. Not that you doubt my existence, but that you doubt my affection. You have wondered, if God truly loved me, why does he allow this? You have whispered, maybe I asked for too much. You have said in the quiet, perhaps he blesses others more than me. I have heard every word, even those unspoken. And I have not turned away in anger. I have wept beside you, because those questions rise not from rebellion but from pain. The wound of distrust is not prideful. It is fearful. It is the scar left by disappointment, the mark of a heart that hoped and did not see what it prayed for. When your trust began to fade, you began to rely on yourself, and though that seemed safer, it cost you more than you knew. You carried burdens that were never meant for your shoulders. You bore the weight of outcomes, the responsibility for timing, the fear of failing me, but, my beloved, you were never asked to control these things. You were only asked to walk beside me, one step at a time, believing that I see what you cannot. Distrust is not merely a lack of faith, it is an unhealed fear. It whispers that I might not come through, that I might forget, that I might favor others before you. It makes you flinch when I reach out to bless you, because deep inside, you fear that my gifts come with conditions you cannot meet. But, my child, listen, my love is not a transaction. It is a covenant. You do not have to earn what I have already promised. Do you remember when I taught you to rest in me? When I said that my yoke is easy and my burden light? That was not a metaphor, it was a promise. Yet, as life pressed upon you, as wounds deepened and answers delayed, you picked up what I had already carried for you. And when the weight crushed your peace, you thought I had stepped away. But I was right there, trying to take it back from your trembling hands. Distrust distorts your vision. It makes you see punishment where I have placed preparation. It makes you interpret silence as rejection, when it is simply my timing at work. It convinces you that I am withholding when I am truly protecting. And soon you find yourself fighting battles that were never yours to fight. Oh, my beloved, how it pains me to see you strive so hard to prove what has already been secured. Your worth, your belonging, your place in my heart. When you doubt me, you do not lose my favor, but you lose your peace. That is the wound of distrust. Not that it changes me, but that it changes how you feel me. You begin to live guarded, always watching for signs that I might disappoint you again. You pray with caution, believe with hesitation, and worship with restraint. You build a wall around your heart and call it wisdom, but it is made of sorrow. And yet, even in this, my love does not weaken. I do not abandon wounded hearts, I heal them. My child, healing begins the moment you stop pretending you are not hurt. Bring me the questions you hide, the disappointments you fear to name. Tell me where it broke. Tell me when you began to feel I was far away. I do not need your polished prayers. I need your truth. The wound can only heal when exposed to the light of honesty. You think you are protecting yourself by not trusting again, but in truth you are starving your soul. Trust is the oxygen of our relationship. Without it, faith suffocates slowly. Yet I do not demand it all at once. I will take even a whisper of it. If you can only say, Lord, I want to trust you again, that is enough. From that small spark, I will rekindle the fire. Let me show you how deeply I understand you. I know why you fear to believe again, because you think that if you trust and are disappointed once more, it will break you completely. But, my beloved, I do not lead you into despair. I lead you through it. Every time you trusted me and did not receive what you asked for, I was preparing something beyond what you could imagine. You saw the pain. I saw the promise. You saw loss. I saw foundation. So let me touch that wound now. Let me remind you that I have never forgotten you, never turned away, never stopped working on your behalf. Trust is not lost forever. It is only buried beneath fear. And I am the one who removes the stones from graves. Breathe, my beloved. Rest in this. I am still here. You can trust me again. And when you do, you will feel life returning to places you thought were gone forever. My beloved, you have felt the weight of my silence and have mistaken it for wrath. You have seen storms and thought them punishments. You have endured the consequences of choices and feared they were rejections. But hear me now. My anger is not like human anger. It does not lash out to destroy. It burns to purify. It does not arise from wounded pride, but from perfect love that cannot tolerate the corruption of what is holy. When I speak of anger, I speak of fire, not the fire that consumes, but the fire that refines. It is the heat that melts away the chains that hold you captive, even when those chains are made of things you once called safety. My anger is the sound of justice echoing through the halls of creation, correcting what has been twisted by fear, deceit, and sin. I am not quick to anger. My heart is slow to wrath and overflowing with mercy. Yet when I see my children trusting lies instead of truth, harm instead of healing, I act. My holiness does not allow me to stand idle while the ones I love are destroyed by their own misunderstanding. My anger is love refusing to let darkness win. You see, my child, there is a difference between punishment and consequence. Punishment seeks to harm, consequence seeks to teach. When you feel the sharp sting of correction, it is not because I desire to hurt you. It is because I desire to free you. I would rather see you momentarily wounded by truth than eternally bound by deceit. Think of the flame that purifies gold. The gold does not understand the fire. It feels only the pain of the heat, unaware that the impurities are being drawn out. In the same way, you may not understand why I allow certain fires in your life. You may think I am angry at you, when in truth I am working for you. I am burning away what is false so that your soul may shine in its intended brilliance. When you read of my anger in the scriptures, when Adam and Eve hid from me, when Israel turned to idols, when my prophets warned of wrath, it was never about vengeance. It was about relationship. I longed for my children to return, to walk again in the garden without fear. My anger is always redemptive. It always carries within it the seed of renewal. My beloved, I know that the word anger frightens you, because you have seen it wielded cruelly in human hands. You have felt anger that humiliated, anger that silenced, anger that shattered trust. But mine is not like that. My anger restores trust. It is not born of ego, but of eternal justice. Where sin has planted chaos, my holiness rises like dawn to set things right. When I seem stern, it is because I am defending your soul from destruction. I do not rage as humans rage. I do not lose control. Every act of correction is measured by love, every stroke of discipline guided by purpose. Even when you wander far, my anger does not erase my tenderness. Calls you back. It says, "This is not who you are. Come home to what is pure." Think of a parent who sees a child reaching toward a flame. The shout that bursts forth is not hatred, it is protection. The firm hand that pulls the child away leaves a momentary pain but prevents a lasting wound. My holy anger works the same way. It may feel sudden, but it is never cruel. It may seem harsh, but it is always merciful. I do not rejoice when you suffer. I rejoice when suffering teaches. I do not delight in discipline. I delight in the restoration it brings. My anger, when it comes, is a doorway not to fear, but to transformation. It is the moment when falsehood trembles, when the lies that bound you begin to unravel under the weight of truth. You have seen this before, my beloved. When your plans failed though they seemed perfect, that was not rejection, it was protection. When something you loved slipped through your hands, it was not my cruelty but my foresight. I removed what could not go with you into the next season of grace. You thought I was taking from you. I was making space to give you more. So do not fear my anger. Welcome it as the fire that cleanses the soil before new life grows. Do not run from conviction. Embrace it as the touch of a loving hand. For my justice is never separate from my mercy. They walk together like light and warmth, each making the other known. You are not under wrath, my child, you are under refinement. The shaking you feel is not destruction. It is alignment. I am setting things right within you and around you, clearing away what cannot stand in the fullness of my glory. Soon you will look back and see what this fire accomplished. You will see how the pain became purpose, how the stripping became strengthening, how even the moments that frightened you most were filled with grace unseen. Then you will say, "He was never angry to harm me. He was angry to heal me." And you will understand that my justice has always been mercy wearing the face of truth. My beloved, you are not the first to wander, nor will you be the last to be found. From the beginning, humanity has wrestled with trust, the delicate thread that binds heart to heaven. It was not rebellion alone that drew my children away from me, but the whisper of doubt that told them, "You must understand before you can obey." When I placed Adam and Eve in the garden, it was not a test of will but a covenant of love. I gave them everything: beauty, provision, communion. Yet one seed of mistrust was enough to fracture the peace that clothed them. The serpent's voice did not shout. It whispered. It said, "Did God really say?" That question still echoes through time, weaving its way into human thought, wrapping itself around the places where faith trembles. They did not eat the fruit because they hungered for rebellion, but because they feared they were missing something I had withheld. And that, my child, is the heart of all distrust, the lie that says I am holding something back. The moment they believed that lie, the garden within them closed. They saw themselves apart from me, and shame was born. Yet even then, I came searching, not as an angry judge, but as a grieving father. "Where are you?" I called. I have been calling that question into human hearts ever since. When my people Israel walked through the wilderness, they too struggled with trust. I rained manna from heaven and made water flow from stone. Yet still they murmured, "Is the Lord among us or not?" They wanted signs when I offered faith. They wanted control when I offered covenant. They forgot that my delay was not denial, it was preparation. Every detour in the desert was a lesson in trust. Every moment of scarcity was a reminder that I was their sustainer, not their surroundings. When they feared the giants of Canaan, they forgot the giants I had already defeated for them. Their hearts trembled not because they lacked miracles, but because they lacked memory. So too, my beloved, when you question my timing, you repeat their story. You see the wilderness and call it abandonment, though it is the place where I teach you to walk by faith, not sight. You feel the silence and call it distance, though I am closer in the quiet than in the thunder. You see doors close and think I have rejected you, when in truth, I am leading you through a narrow gate towards something eternal. Remember this. The garden was lost through mistrust, and the desert was lengthened by doubt. But every story of failure is also a story of redemption. Adam and Eve were clothed by my own hand. Israel reached the promised land after all. My anger turned to mercy the moment they remembered my name. My justice became deliverance when they cried out again. When you stumble, I do not turn away. When you question, I do not withdraw. I am patient beyond comprehension, for I know the frailty of the hearts I shaped. I know how fear clouds your faith, how delay tests your devotion. That is why I speak now, to remind you that I am not the one who withholds good things. I am the one who restores what was lost. Do not despise correction, my beloved. It is not the voice of anger but of alignment. It draws you back to the ancient rhythm of trust, the same rhythm that sustained Noah in the flood, Abraham on the mountain, and Moses in the wilderness. Each of them faced moments when my plans seemed impossible. Each of them stood between promise and fulfillment, learning to trust what they could not yet see. Abraham lifted the knife over Isaac, not because he understood, but because he trusted. And I provided a ram. Israel walked between walls of water, not because they saw the end, but because they trusted my word enough to step forward. And I closed the sea behind them. Daniel faced lions not because he felt no fear, but because he trusted that I was greater than fear. And I shut their mouths. You see, my child, every miracle was born from trust, not understanding. I ask for faith, not proof. I ask for surrender, not control. For trust opens the door that fear keeps shut. So when I speak of the ancient path, I am calling you to walk where faith has already proven stronger than fear. You do not walk alone, you walk where saints and prophets have walked before you. Their footprints are still warm with courage. Their prayers still echo in the chambers of eternity. When you trust me in uncertainty, you join their story. You become a continuation of what I began long ago. A people who live by faith, not by sight. Who see my goodness even in the fire. Who know that even when I seem silent, I am writing redemption into their days. My beloved, let this truth settle deeply into you. I do not need you to understand everything. I only ask that you trust me with everything. For trust is the soil of miracles. It is where I plant blessings you have not yet imagined. And soon you will see what those before you saw, that every moment of waiting, every test of faith, was never meant to break you but to bring you home to me. My beloved, now that you have seen the weight of mistrust and the light that truth restores, it is time to return. The path back to me is not hidden. It is not paved with penance or performance, but with surrender and remembrance. You need not climb a mountain of worthiness to reach me. You need only turn your heart, and you will find I have already been walking beside you. You see, the distance you felt was never a matter of miles, but of faith. When you leaned upon your own understanding, the road beneath your feet grew uncertain. But the moment you choose to trust again, that same road becomes holy ground. Restoration begins not with grand gestures, but with one quiet decision. I will trust him again. Release, my child. That is the first step. Release the fears that whisper you are too far gone. Release the shame that tells you I could not possibly want you after your failure. Release the control you cling to, the illusion that you must hold the world together by your own strength. You were never meant to bear such weight. I am the architect of your destiny. I alone can carry what overwhelms you. Do you remember when I calmed the storm on the sea? My disciples feared the wind and the waves, though I was in the boat with them. They woke me, crying, Lord, save us. And I said, why are you afraid, O you of little faith? The storm did not frighten me, but their fear revealed how little they understood my heart. I was never distant. I was resting beside them, waiting for them to remember that my presence is stronger than any tempest. So it is with you, my beloved. The storms you face are not proof of my absence. They are invitations to awaken faith. You have not been forsaken, you have been refined. You have not fallen out of my favor. You are being called into deeper trust. Restoration begins in the heart, not in circumstance. You will not find peace by trying to fix everything around you. You will find it by letting me fix what is within you. Trust is not built by answers, but by intimacy. Come back into the quiet, where my spirit can breathe into you again. Let prayer become your resting place. Not a duty, not a script, but a dialogue, a returning of heart to heart. Speak to me honestly. Tell me where you feel lost, and I will meet you there. Do not dress your wounds in pretense. I see through them already. It is not your perfection that moves me, but your humility. My beloved, you think restoration must be earned. You think forgiveness comes only after endless repentance. But my mercy runs faster than your guilt. It waits at the edge of every confession, ready to flood the heart that dares to open. I am not a taskmaster demanding apology. I am a father longing for reunion. When you say, I have failed you, I whisper, come home. When you cry, I do not know the way, I say, I am the way. When you fear that you have fallen too far, I remind you, my hand is not too short to save. You do not restore trust by your effort. You restore it by your surrender. Trust is born again when you stop trying to understand every reason and simply rest in my goodness. I do not need you to solve your pain. I need you to hand it to me. Do not fear to look back at your mistake. It is not a curse. It is a compass. It points to where you left the path so you may now walk forward with new wisdom. The lesson of every failure is not condemnation but deeper dependence. There is beauty in your brokenness, for it softens your heart to receive grace. The cracks in your confidence are the very openings where my light will enter. Do not try to seal them too quickly. Let them breathe. Let my spirit move through them, healing you from the inside out. My child, you will feel peace again. The chaos that has followed you will still at the sound of my name. The thoughts that accuse you will fade in the warmth of my truth. You will remember that I am not a distant ruler, but a present redeemer. Do not hurry this healing. Restoration is a process, not a moment. It is like the sunrise, first the dim light, then the gold, then the full radiance of morning. You will not notice it at first, but soon you will realize that the night has passed and the day has come. Walk with me again. Let every step be a prayer of trust. When you stumble, reach for my hand. When you fear, remember my promise. I will never leave you nor forsake you. And as you walk, you will discover that what you thought was broken beyond repair has become the foundation of new strength. You will see that every mistake has become a doorway to deeper grace. For I am not the God who condemns the wanderer. I am the one who restores the weary traveler and calls them beloved again. My beloved, now that you have turned your heart toward me again, let me speak to you of forgiveness, not as an idea, but as a living river that flows from my heart to yours. Forgiveness is not something I weigh, nor something you must earn. It is my nature. It is who I am. When you call my name in humility, you are already standing in the stream of grace that has been waiting for you since the beginning of time. You have believed that forgiveness means I forget your sin. But, my child, I do not erase the past. I redeem it. I weave even your mistakes into a greater tapestry of glory. Where you stumbled, I plant wisdom. Where you cried, I build compassion. Where you failed, I open the door for faith to grow stronger than before. Do not think of me as one keeping a record of your wrongs. My memory holds not condemnation, but purpose. I see your scars, and I call them testimonies. I see your tears, and I call them seeds. For every moment you turned away, I have already prepared a path that leads you back. Not in shame, but in renewal. You ask, Lord, how can you forgive me again? And I answer, because I never stopped loving you. You ask, but what if I fall once more? And I say, then I will lift you once more. You cannot exhaust my mercy. The cross was not a temporary act. It was an eternal declaration that love is stronger than failure. Forgiveness is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of healing. When I forgive you, I do not simply erase guilt. I restore peace. I breathe life into the places that shame has silenced. I wash away not only the sin, but the self-condemnation that clings to it. My beloved, I see how you struggle to forgive yourself. You think your guilt is humility, but I tell you, guilt that remains after grace has spoken is no longer holy. It becomes a chain forged by fear. Let it go. Trust my voice more than your feelings. My forgiveness is complete. When I say you are free indeed. The healing that follows forgiveness is gentle, comes not through striving, but through stillness. Be patient with your heart. The wound that has been reopened by truth will not close overnight. But as you rest in my presence, it will mend from the inside, until one day you will find that the memory no longer burns. It teaches. You may ask, Lord, why must I remember what I have done if you have forgiven me? And I say, so that you may walk in wisdom and mercy. The healed remember not to condemn, but to comfort. I use your past not as a prison, but as a bridge, connecting your story to others who need to know that redemption is possible. Healing is the slow unveiling of who you truly are beneath the bruises of sin and sorrow. You were never defined by your mistakes, though you believed you were. You are defined by my breath, my image, my choosing. I have marked you with eternity, and no failure can remove that mark. You think your healing is delayed, but it is already unfolding. Every prayer, every quiet surrender, every time you choose to believe instead of despair, these are the stitches by which grace mends you. You do not see all the work being done within you, but the Spirit is at work even now, gathering the broken pieces of your soul and shaping them into something more beautiful than before. Do not despise the slow work of healing. A wound that closes too quickly can leave behind weakness. One that heals deeply becomes unshakable. I am not rushing you, my beloved. I am restoring you layer by layer so that when you stand again, you will stand firm. Forgiveness is the seed. Healing is the tree that grows from it. And from that tree will come fruit, compassion, patience, discernment, peace. You will love others not despite your wounds, but because of them. You will understand pain not as punishment, but as preparation. You will forgive others easily, because you have known the cost of grace. My child, hear this truth. Nothing you confess surprises me, and nothing you regret disqualifies you. The same hands that shaped the stars have also written mercy across your name. You are not the sum of your failures. You are the story of my redemption. When I forgive, I restore dignity. When I heal, I renew purpose. When I speak your name, it is not to remind you of your fall, but to remind you of your calling. You are still chosen. You are still loved. You are still mine. Do not return to the prison of shame. Walk in the freedom I purchased for you. Let joy become your offering and gratitude your worship. I have cleansed you, not to make you timid, but to make you radiant. A living testament that my love never fails. The world will see your restoration and know that grace is real. They will say, surely God has been with them. And you will answer, yes, even in my darkness he was my light. So rest, my beloved. Forgiveness is finished. Healing has begun. And soon you will not only believe in my mercy, you will embody it. My beloved, now that you have walked through the waters of forgiveness and felt the balm of healing, it is time to step into the sunlight of renewed faith. Trust, my child, is the bridge that joins your heart to mine. It is the river that carries blessing, the wind that lifts your soul above fear, the foundation upon which miracles take root. Restoration has begun. but faith must now rise from the soil I have prepared within you. You have seen what happens when trust falters. You have felt the ache, the subtle drift, the wound of doubt. But now you are being called to remember the way you once believed, not naively, but fully, with courage born of knowing that I never fail. Faith is not the absence of struggle. It is the surrender of struggle into my hands. It is the quiet assurance that even when the path is hidden, I am present. You may think that renewed trust is fragile. You may fear that one misstep will break it again. But hear me, my beloved. Trust that is reborn from forgiveness is stronger than anything that sought to harm you. It has been tested in shadow, purified in fire, and watered by grace. The very moments that once wounded you are now the root of your strength. You do not return to faith as a child trembling. You return as one armed with the wisdom of experience and the power of my spirit. Step boldly into my promises. Do not measure each step by sight, but by obedience. Faith grows not by seeing every outcome, but by walking anyway. When you feel fear rising, speak my name and let it dissolve. When doubt whispers lies, remind yourself of my truth. I am with you always. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Do you remember the disciples who walked with me? They saw wonders, heard miracles, yet they often doubted. Still, I called them forward step by step, and their faith was strengthened through trial. You, too, are called to walk forward, not because you are perfect, but because I am perfect. Your trust is the instrument by which I work, and I will never leave it to fail. Renewed faith is not passive. It moves, it acts, it speaks, it loves. It sees opportunities where doubt would see danger. It rejoices in what is hidden from human eyes, because it knows that my providence is greater than your perception. When you walk in faith, you carry light into the places that once seemed dark. You become a witness to the reality of my love. I call you now to release any lingering hesitation. Let go of the fear that keeps your hand from reaching fully into my presence. Step into trust as you would step into the dawn, fully, openly, without looking back. Know that every breath you take is a gift, every moment a chance to practice reliance upon me. Do not be afraid to be vulnerable before me. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the pathway to power when surrendered to my care. Faith also teaches patience. There will be moments when the wind does not obey your desires, when the world seems unmoved by your prayers. This is not failure, it is my teaching. Even in silence, my spirit is moving, unseen but effective. Walk in patience, my child, and you will see that time itself bends to my will. What seems delayed is merely being prepared, so that its fulfillment will be unmistakably my hand at work. Trust, my beloved, also restores joy. When your heart no longer clings to control, you will feel lightness return to your spirit. The burdens you carried alone will now rest upon my shoulders, and you will know what it is to be free. Freedom does not mean that problems vanish. but that your heart rests in certainty that I am greater than all challenges. Joy is the companion of faith, born of the knowledge that you are safely cradled in my love. Walk now in confidence, not arrogance. Walk now in courage, not recklessness. Walk now in obedience, not fear. Every act of trust is a seed that blossoms into blessing. Every prayer lifted without doubt is a victory over the shadows that once ensnared you. Every moment you rely on me, you declare the truth of my eternal faithfulness. Know this, my beloved. Faith renewed is a testimony to yourself, to the world, and to heaven. Your journey of restoration becomes a beacon for others who struggle with doubt, fear, or mistrust. When they see your heart aligned with mine, they will glimpse what is possible when my love is allowed to guide fully. Step forward, then, with courage. Let your trust shine brightly, unwavering. Hold fast to the lessons of forgiveness and healing, and let them inform every choice, every word, every breath. The renewal of faith is the foundation upon which the rest of your life will be built. Steady, unshakable, and radiant in my glory. I am with you, my beloved. I am faithful. I am love. Your renewed trust will carry you into the fullness of all I have prepared, and nothing can hinder what my hand has ordained. My beloved, now that your faith has been restored and your trust renewed, I invite you to live not merely with knowledge of me, but in union with me. To live in my presence is to walk in a sacred rhythm, a steady awareness that I am not distant, not a God of faraway places, but the very breath within your soul. You need not seek me in grand gestures or extraordinary visions. I am woven into the quiet and the ordinary. I dwell in the spaces between your thoughts, in the pauses between your words, in the heartbeat that continues even when you forget to notice it. My presence is not something you must chase. It is something you must recognize. It has never left you. It only waited for your awareness to return. When you wake in the morning, whisper my name, and you will feel my nearness. When you walk through your day, speak to me as a friend. Ask me what I think. Invite me into your choices. I am not a silent observer, but a willing companion. I do not simply watch your life unfold. I walk beside you, guiding each step, shaping each moment toward good. Living in my presence means trusting not only in my power but in my timing. There will be days when you cannot sense my movement, when prayers seem unanswered, when doors appear closed. Do not despair. My silence does not mean absence. It means I am working in ways unseen. Faith does not end when you cannot feel me. It deepens there. I long for you to live in continual awareness of me, not as a task, but as a way of breathing. Let gratitude become your language. Let trust become your posture. When you face uncertainty, do not rush to fix it by your own hand. First, still your heart. Say, Lord, I trust you even here, and I will meet you in that stillness. My guidance is not complicated. It is gentle, patient, and consistent. speaks through peace, not pressure. When you are unsure of what to do, listen for where peace rests. That is where I am. I never lead through fear, confusion, or chaos. Those are the voices of the world, not of heaven. I lead through calm assurance, through the quiet knowing that aligns with truth and love. My beloved, do not fear making mistakes. When your heart is surrendered to me, even your detours become part of the journey I used to teach you. You cannot fall outside my reach when your intention is to follow my will. If you wander, I will redirect you. If you stumble, I will steady you. My guidance is not conditional. It is constant. Walk in communion with me through all seasons. When joy fills your heart, thank me and share your delight with me. When sorrow visits, do not hide it. Bring it into the light of my presence. I can turn tears into seeds of wisdom, pain into pathways of compassion. In every emotion, in every circumstance, I am there, shaping your heart to mirror my own. There is no part of your life too small for my involvement. The decisions you call insignificant are the very places where faith is most refined. Invite me into your smallest moments, the conversation, the thought, the hesitation. For when you practice awareness in the small things, you will naturally walk with confidence in the great ones. My beloved, living in my presence also means listening more than speaking. The world clamors for your attention, filling the air with noise and urgency. But I dwell in the still, small voice. When you make space for silence, you make space for me. Turn down the volume of fear, and you will hear the music of my spirit guiding you. Let your life become a dialogue of love. Speak to me as often as you breathe. Tell me your worries before they become walls. Tell me your hopes before they turn to restlessness. I will listen, and in my listening I will heal. You do not need to understand every direction I give. You only need to trust that I see what you cannot. A shepherd does not explain every turn of the path to the sheep. He simply leads, and they follow because they know his voice. So too, you will know my voice more clearly with every step of obedience. Each act of trust sharpens your hearing until my whispers become unmistakable. Do not fear the future. I am already there. Do not regret the past. I have already redeemed it. The only place you must dwell is in this sacred now, where my presence meets your faith. Here, in this moment, I am enough. When you walk in my presence, your life becomes a living testimony. Peace will flow from you like a quiet river, touching those who cross your path. Others will see your calm and feel my nearness through you. You will become an instrument of my guidance for others, not by striving, but by being. By living so close to me that my light naturally shines through your being. My beloved, I am teaching you to move not by fear, but by rhythm, the rhythm of divine trust, the cadence of peace that surpasses understanding. Stay close. Let me be your guide, your friend, your source, your home. And as you walk in my presence, you will find that even the smallest steps are filled with eternity. My beloved, Now that your heart has returned to me, I want you to rest in a truth that will never fade. My love for you is everlasting. Before time began, before you spoke your first word or took your first breath, I chose you. I shaped you in love, breathed life into your being, and set eternity within your heart. You are not an accident nor a passing thought. You are my design, my dream, my beloved creation. I do not love you because of what you have done right, nor do I withdraw from you when you falter. My love is not fragile. It does not waver with your moods or mistakes. It is the steady pulse of the universe, unbroken, unending, flowing from my heart to yours. Even when you wandered, I loved you. Even when you doubted, I loved you. Even when you turned away, I never stopped calling your name. You have seen my correction and felt my disappointment, but now I want you to feel the depth of my mercy. My anger is not vengeance. It is the fierce protection of holiness, the fire that refines, not destroys. My wrath burns away what harms you, not who you are. Every discipline you have felt was born from love, never rejection. You are my child, and I correct what I cherish. Now I call you to peace, the peace that comes when you rest in me without fear of failure, the peace that no storm can break. You do not need to strive to earn my approval. You already have my heart. What I desire now is not your perfection, but your presence. Come sit with me in the quiet and let my love heal the places your striving could not. You have carried heavy burdens, regrets, questions, and the weight of trying to be enough. Lay them down. I never asked you to carry what only I can hold. The cross has already borne it all. Your sin, your shame, your fears. You are free. Do not keep lifting what I have already carried into victory. When you fall again, and you will, for you are still learning, do not hide from me. Run toward me. My arms are always open. There is no mistake that can surprise me, no failure that can undo the work I have begun in you. What I start, I finish. And I have begun a good work in you, one that eternity itself will not end. My beloved, you will face seasons where the world grows cold, where truth is ridiculed, and faith feels like swimming upstream. In those moments, remember this. I am not only with you, I am within you. The strength that moves mountains is not far away. It beats inside your chest, because my spirit lives there. You are not a bystander to my plans. You are a co-laborer, a bearer of light, a reflection of divine purpose. Every step you take in faith shifts something in the unseen. Every prayer, every act of trust, every moment you choose love over fear, it all echoes in eternity. Do not underestimate the power of your obedience. Heaven sees, and I am moved by your smallest yes. When you face uncertainty, remember my promises. I will guide you continually. I will restore what was lost. I will turn ashes into beauty, sorrow into joy, and fear into courage. The very areas where you once felt broken will become altars of testimony. Through your story, others will find me. Hold on to this truth. Nothing can separate you from my love. Not distance, not failure, not fear, not even death itself. For my love is the eternal current that carries you from one realm to the next, from the world you see into the glory that awaits. Do not worry about tomorrow. I am already there, preparing peace for you. The days ahead will not always be easy, but they will always be guided. When the path grows dim, my light will find you. When your heart grows weary, my voice will strengthen you. And when you are unsure if you can keep walking, I will carry you. You are mine forever. Let that be your confidence, not in your strength, but in my unshakable faithfulness. I will never abandon what I have claimed. I have written your name upon my heart, and no hand can erase it. And so, my beloved, live in this assurance. You are loved beyond measure, protected beyond fear, and destined beyond comprehension. Trust me, walk with me, speak to me, rest in me, for the story of your life is not one of failure and return, but of redemption and rising, of a child who wandered but was found, who doubted but was loved into faith again. You are the testimony of my mercy. You are the reflection of my patience. You are the joy of my heart. And when your journey here is complete, when you have run your race and kept your faith, you will open your eyes in the fullness of my glory. There you will see not just what I promised, but what I meant all along. That love, pure, eternal, unbreakable love, was the plan from the very beginning. I am with you always, my beloved, now and forever.